Hey there, hi there, ho there, kids. Welcome to the second episode of 2024 for Sports Frenzy 2.0. We've all got everything sorted out now. The Spotify platform issues have been fixed.
Woohoo! You know, I bet you their servers froze in anticipation of the sub-zero temperatures we've experienced here in our area.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that, Dave. I gave you credit, by the way, on the Facebook page with your quote, of course, which I know you stole from somebody else, but technology is great until it isn't.
Yeah. Technology, they said. It'll make your life easier, they said.
All right. We are ready to go here, back after we played catch-up last week. We're still going to play a little bit of catch-up this week, but we're going to try some different things.
Heinz hunts.
Oh, the condiment puns, really, Dave?
You opened it.
May you please shut up? Mustard we put up with this.
And there you go. You relish this opportunity.
Yes. Seems a bit chilly in here, doesn't it? All right, we're done. We're done, I swear to God. But we're going to try some different things here in 2024. Last week, of course, we've already put out the Q&A and the poll. We'll try it again this week, get you guys more involved in what we're doing. Again, unfortunately, only for Spotify listeners. That does not mean, by any stretch, we don't care about the rest of you out there, because you guys are probably our majority.
Yep. Reach out to the Facebook page.
Yes, the Facebook page is the way for you guys to get involved. So, of course, we start off at this time of year with what, Dave?
NFL, baby.
All right, so let's recap last week's games. And they were ugly. They were damn ugly.
Wild card was brutal.
Of course, we had weather issues, weather delays. So we ended up going 2-2 Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Now I'm hearing rumors they liked it. But it also depends on when MLK Day falls.
Right.
This year they got very lucky.
Yeah, but still, not everybody gets it off.
And the calendar doesn't necessarily
align.
MLK Day could fall on the Monday after the divisional round, where they don't play on Monday. The Super Wild Card weekend, of course, now they're pushing the Monday game on you.
And shame on everybody who watched the Dolphins-Chiefs game on Peacock. Way to go and screw everybody for the future.
I have two different views on that. And we'll get to that in a second, because that's our second game to review. First up, though, the early game on Saturday, the 13th. I know everybody's going to blame Joe Flacco. Everybody wants to blame him for the 2 pick sixes at the beginning of the second half. But where was the defense?
Where was this vaunted Browns
Jim Burhart-led defense?
Number 1 in the NFL defense.
And I had heard before the game, well, they're not as good on the road. There's no excuse for this performance.
That was pathetic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely pathetic.
And we're going to have a lot of little themes and threads running through all these games as we recap them. But one of them is some of these coordinators who were hot commodities blew their chances, in my opinion. And number 1 in this first game, as the Texans won 45-14, Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator of that Browns defense that did not show up. And they put Joe Flacco in that situation where he had to force passes.
Yeah, he had no choice but to keep trying to force things in, to try and move the ball, because the offense was awful. And that's why now Alex Van Pelt is out as their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and this seems kind of...
but that's petty.
Yes.
To put the blame on him and him on the chopping block for this.
Yes, I completely agree, because of the fact that, again, they were on their fourth quarterback.
That you had to drag off the retirement couch.
With no Nick Chubb as your lead running back.
Right. No, this falls on the shoulders of Jim Schwartz and not having that defense prepared, not being able to adjust at all to what the Texans were doing.
Completely agree. And I'm not saying Joe Flacco's a Hall of Fame quarterback. God help me, I'm not saying that. But kudos to him for coming off the couch at home and getting the Browns to this point. It's not on him.
No.
It's not on him. Now, again, we need to give props and praise to D'Amico Ryans,
Holy
CJ.
crap.
But this fairy tale is going to have to end at some point, right?
You would think, coming up against better competition.
Yep. We'll get to our picks, of course, later on. Then we move on to the game that Dave was alluding to earlier.
Dolphins at the Chiefs.
The frigid cold game at Arrowhead Stadium.
Damn cold, Mahomes' helmet cracked.
And there's an unbelievable picture. Somebody got an unbelievably gorgeous picture of that moment.
That moment when the hit and you could just see the plastic shattering.
Yeah, I know. He's fine. The helmet did what it was supposed to do.
Right.
They switched it out, but it's just an unbelievable image. But the Chiefs win 26-7. So many questions around this game, though. So many questions. Number one being, the Dolphins have got to toughen up.
They've got to learn how to play on the road in cold weather.
And is Tua the answer?
I'm not convinced.
And that's the thing. They're kind of in the same situation as the Bears are, where they've got to make a decision and make a decision soon on their quarterback, whether or not he's the guy they want going forward.
Yep. Yeah. I just cannot see Tua as the long-term answer. He has his moments, but that almost have to be perfect. And if things aren't going perfect, he is unable to perform.
Yeah. And some of these situations that come up with the way the NFL has got the divisions aligned, whether the Dolphins like it or not, they are in the East, and they're going to have to play the Jets, the Patriots,
They've been in that division since they joined.
I know. And but this team looked like they didn't realize that they had to play teams in the Northeast. They just did not look like they wanted to be there at all.
No, and I'm sorry, but through all the years, the Dolphins used to be able to play in the cold weather. Over the last 20 years, forget it.
Yeah, now the weather at kickoff, -4 degrees. Tickets were down to $30 because nobody, even in Kansas City, nobody wanted to put themselves through.
No, nobody wants to sit in that.
And that wasn't even the worst of the weekend. We'll
No.
get to that. But I know you don't want to hear this, but despite the fact that reports say millions upon millions upon millions of dollars were lost because they pushed this game onto Peacock, they still got 23 million people watching it, the most streamed event in U.S. history. But they are still saying they lost money on it because of all the viewers who did not watch it, who would have if it had been on over-the-air network TV.
Yep.
Over normal cable service.
Yeah,
like
service. I said last week, I have Peacock. I boycotted. I refused to turn it on.
Now, see, I didn't do that.
I'm standing by my principles on that.
But see, I had Peacock. If I didn't have Peacock, I wouldn't have bought Peacock for this. That is standing by your principles. I don't
care. I made the choice to have Peacock. I don't think sporting events like this need to be on streaming services.
I agree with you completely. So Mrs. C just said no. Well, she didn't care. But so you didn't want your Dolphins.
I did not.
All right.
Mrs. C agreed with me on that.
Oh, but what would she have done if it was the Bills?
I have no idea.
You would have been watching the Bills. You would have been watching the Bills.
Maybe I wouldn't have been.
We will see what happens down the road with this. You and I have talked about this ad nauseum for the last couple years. This was a precursor to them trying to force pay-per-view games down our throats. And they just want to see, it's like a little test here.
See, they already said they're going to do another wild card game on streaming next year, too.
I think people are not going to, this is not going to sit well with them. Because they think we're like Pavlov's dogs. You know, and they
put it on and we'll watch it.
Yeah, put it on. No, there are limits. There are limits. Now, again, I watched it because I have Peacock already, so I was already paying the $6. And if you did not have Peacock, kudos if you did not pay for it for this one game. I would not have either. I'm not paying $6 for one game.
I would not have even signed up for it to cancel it right away.
No, I wouldn't have signed up at all.
Because that would have given them the sign up and the view.
No, because that's what they want. Is they hope people will forget. Because come on, outside of us who love On Patrol Live, I can watch that on Peacock because I don't have reels on my cable service.
Right.
So that's why I keep it. That and the WWE. Again, so I already have it. I'm watching the game. I'm not giving them any more money that I'm not already giving them. But great for people who did not.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes. Get ready to go up in arms, everyone.
Well, I see. Now, to me, we'll get to the Bears in a minute. The thing that pisses me off more is the overseas stuff.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But we'll get to that later. So, Saturday games, done. Texans win big. Chiefs win big. So far, we're 0 for 2 in terms of snooze fest. Games that were not really competitive at all. Then, of course, the Steelers-Bills, which was supposed to be 1 o'clock Sunday. The 14th gets pushed back.
Monday because of horrible snowstorm going in Buffalo.
Yep, they showed the footage.
It was bad.
It was awful. So, this is where we go with the 2-2-2 thing. So, the first game on Sunday ended up being the 4:30 game with the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium, where they didn't lose at all this year, Dave.
No, they've what? 16-0 over the last 2 years at home hosting the Packers.
I never, ever thought I would be laughing in joy because the Packers had a blowout win.
Oh, my God. The final score was not indicative of the game.
No, final score 48-32, but 27-0 at half.
Yeah, 3 late touchdowns by Dallas in the closing quarter because the Packers were just playing prevent and whatever. They didn't care.
And very funny thing about the end of that game, because they were playing prevent. They were letting Dallas move up and down the field, but Dallas moved a little too quickly. And at one point, they put in their backups on the offense, backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And then Dallas did a 3-and-out, got the ball back, moved back down. They put Jordan Love back in, along with Aaron Jones. Jordan Love threw an incomplete pass, ruining his chance for a perfect rating.
Yep. Ugh.
Threw a little out
that just got missed.
Yep. So, I don't know. Just Matt LaFleur's got to be a little more careful here, you know.
He does, but
your quarterback could have had a perfect rating in this game, and I don't think he would have lost.
And you ran him out there for no reason because they still went 3-and-out.
Yep. But in the end, Dallas loses. So now the question is, Mike McCarthy, what's his future? So far, here Wednesday night, January the 17th, he's still got a job.
Yeah, nothing's changed, and this is unusual for Jerry Jones to not overreact immediately.
Well, no, Jerry Jones is very loyal. except when it comes to Jimmy Johnson. The one time he should have been loyal, he wasn't. But no, Jason Garrett, oh, you get to keep your job.
Mike McCarthy, all right, we'll go with you.
The guys we all know, even Cowboys fans know, you should be moving on from now.
Moving on from or never should have put in that position to begin with.
Yes, and I know the last 3 years, Mike McCarthy's regular season record
12
is
wins
fantastic.
every year. He cannot win in the playoffs.
Now, is it him or is it Dak?
And the rest of the team.
Well, number one, I'll tell you, now this is a fantasy football rant, but I'll tell you what, number one, they made a mistake despite the fact I was all for it because I thought Tony Pollard could step up and be the number one running back, cutting Ezekiel Elliott loose. Zeke looked better as the second string running back in New England this year than Tony Pollard did as the lead back with Dallas. Tony Pollard's a pussy. Tony Pollard
just appeared.
Yeah,
you expected him as the lead back to outperform what he did as the second.
Right. He seems more comfortable as the second guy, the backup running back.
And like some head coaches need to be coordinators.
Yeah.
Some running backs need to be backups.
And I think that's where they made a huge mistake. I don't think Tony Pollard can handle being a lead back. So that's mistake number one. Mistake number two is they never got a second wide receiver to offset CeeDee Lamb.
No, they did not.
When they're playing a mediocre to subpar defense, CeeDee Lamb can take advantage of him. He's obviously one of the top 3 receivers in the league.
Yeah. But when you get a decent defense, a good secondary that can shut him down, they're done.
And you saw the frustration in this game in the first half between Prescott and Lamb. Lamb's numbers look good, but again,
it was in garbage time.
Yeah, it was mop-up garbage time. So I'm shocked. I am absolutely shocked that as we're taping this podcast episode, that Mike McCarthy is still the head coach of the Cowboys. Because if they go forward with this next year, everybody's going to laugh at them.
Have the same thing.
They're all going to laugh at you. Because you're not going to go anywhere with this. You've already proven it for 3 freaking years. You can't win with this formula. You can't.
The combination of McCarthy and Prescott is not getting it done.
Now, number 2, we talked about Jim Schwartz being a coordinator who shit the bed and who might have cost himself a shot at his second head coaching job, Dan Quinn.
Yep, where was that Cowboys defense?
Micah Parsons, nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found.
He got manhandled by that young Green Bay line.
Yeah, but remember, Micah Parsons, we've been talking about the last couple of years. Could the defensive player finally step up and win MVP?
Not this year.
No. Terrible, terrible showing by the Cowboys defense. So now Seattle, because we speculated, that was who they wanted. They wanted to bring Dan Quinn back in Seattle to take the place of Pete Carroll. Now you got to wonder,
is that going to happen?
So many openings in the NFL right now. It's like baseball free agency. So slow, so sluggish. Nobody's getting hired.
Yeah, there's no movement.
Harbaugh and Belichick have interviewed, both for the Falcons. Harbaugh also for the Chargers. But other than that, you're not hearing anything.
No.
And by the way,
crickets.
By the way, I have questions about the hiring of Gerard Mayo in New England.
Yeah, how the hell?
Where's the Rooney Rule? Where's the fucking Rooney Rule? You're going to tell me they interviewed all candidates of all races, creeds, and colors?
Vrabel didn't even get an interview.
See, it's amazing to me how the Rooney Rule can work. And I know Gerard Mayo's a minority candidate, but that's not how the Rooney Rule is supposed to work. You don't get to automatically hire a minority candidate without interviewing everybody else
That's
who's
how it's
eligible.
supposed to work.
I don't care if it was in the contract that he was going to be the successor to Bill Belichick no matter what. I think this is bullshit on an epic level. I think they skirted the Rooney Rule and nobody's calling them out on it. We're calling them out on it. Did you interview anybody outside of Gerard Mayo? Did you even interview Gerard Mayo? Or
was it just always known that was what was going to happen?
But that's a loop. That's a loophole. You can't
do that.
That's a workaround.
See,
that's like the Dodgers with their fucking deferred money.
Yeah. It's other teams have done that where they promoted from within and got nailed because they didn't interview outside the organization.
Right.
So why didn't the Patriots interview outside the organization?
The Patriots get away with whatever they want to get away with. I don't care if it was in his contract. If you have the Rooney Rule in place and you're going to abide by the letter of the law, the Rooney Rule, you need to interview all candidates. You don't just hand the job to Gerard Mayo. Like you said, I thought Vrabel would be the obvious choice, at least to interview.
Yeah, at least bring him in to interview. No interview. Come on.
And nobody's calling bullshit on this. Again, this is why you come to Sports Frenzy, because we will call bullshit. And we're calling bullshit on this. Somebody needs to get out there in the media, the great and glorious unbiased media, and find out why the Patriots never interviewed anybody else and just handed the job to Gerard Mayo. Boy, we got to do all your fucking work for you. We're tired of it.
We have to do everything.
Jesus, I need some beer. Hold on a second. I need some beer. That's what we call a beer pause.
All right.
Now we move on to Sunday night. The best game of the weekend. The Lions finally, after a 32-year drought, get a playoff victory, beating the Rams 24-23.
With no help from the officials.
No.
We've talked about the poor officiating all season and how through the playoffs, you're supposed to have the best of the best. This single-handedly was the worst officiated game of the season. Bar none. There were, at least a half a dozen horribly blown calls. No pass interference, bad pass interference, roughing the passer not called. And then one of the most egregious calls late in the game with the Lions trying to ice the game, going on 4th down. The Rams jump into the neutral zone, and then the offensive line reacts. Offside, neutral zone infraction, 5 yards. No, the stupid-ass officials call illegal motion on the offense. It was painful to watch that.
And I honestly think, and again, we know there was a rebellion years ago with the Rams-Saints game.
Right,
with the pass interference. And the referees put their foot down the next year when the league said, well, we're going to try for a year to review
pass interference.
And they never overturned their own mistakes.
Yeah.
So the league said, no, we won't do it. You have got to take advantage of technology. You have got to start reviewing. I don't understand why it's so hard.
Where is the head of the officiating crew in the booth watching over everything to be able to call down and say, yeah, no, we need, this is what it actually was.
And you know the problem is, what you and I have said for years and years, especially you, 100% accurate. There's holding on every goddamn play.
Oh, it's painful.
I sit there and I watch these games and I'm yelling at the screen, there's a hold.
When the guy is being drugged backwards or being landed on sideways, it's not a pancake block. I mean, the holds were brutal.
And, I will say this. A lot of the time it seems like they're siding with the home team. They're just letting it go for the home
Except in
team.
this regard.
Right.
The Lions almost got fucked again.
But they will move on. They will move on. As we do to Monday, January the 15th, of course, the delayed Steelers-Bills game takes place in Orchard Park in the afternoon on MLK Day.
Yep. And here's another one where the officials tried to keep the Steelers in the game in the first half. Steelers had the ball driving. Tight end fumbles the ball. It goes forward. The Bills recovered it in bounds. The call on the field, ball was fumbled out of bounds. Reviewed, call stood. It never went out of bounds. The recovery happened in bounds.
Completely 100% agree. Great call on your part.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yep, because that did keep the Steelers in the game.
It led to their first points.
Yep, 100% agree, though. There was no reason not to stick with the fumble call. No reason at all.
Oh, absolutely brutal.
But the Bills end up winning 31-17 just because the Steelers' offense, the way it is constituted right now, is not built to score a bunch of points in a small amount of time.
No, they're not.
So they fell behind by 2 touchdowns.
Strike.
There's nothing they could do.
Yeah.
That's a grinded out offense. And I don't blame Mason Rudolph. I think he's played remarkably well over the last 4 or 5 weeks. They're going to have to figure out what to do with the quarterback next year in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin got mad
when asked about having one more year left on his contract.
Just left the press conference. So he's mad, even though he says now,
I'll be back for 20.
But that doesn't mean Pittsburgh wants him
right.
back. Very, very interesting. But now this is going to set up the best game of the weekend coming up for the divisional round in the playoffs. So then we move on to the Monday night game. Of course, super wild card weekend. This media manufactured crap that, of course, ESPN helped put together.
Of course they did. Of course, now the NFL is trying to buy into ESPN.
Yeah, and you want to worry about where the future of football is going on television? You want to worry about Peacock? That should scare you a hell of a lot more than Peacock.
With
the
NFL
and ESPN getting together,
it's over.
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yep. You should be deathly afraid of that. But the ABC ESPN game Monday night, Buccaneers hosting the Eagles, I cannot explain the collapse of the Eagles.
It's a monumental collapse. We haven't seen anything like this. God.
The Cowboys shit the bed in one game.
The Eagles shit half the season away.
But nobody knows why. What happened? Nobody knows what happened. They were the most dominant team in the NFL through 12 weeks?
I told you what happened with their defense last week. It coincided with Matt Patricia taking over full reign of the defense.
Doesn't explain the offense, though.
It does not explain the offense. That just
and everybody can sit there and talk about how they lost both their offensive and their defensive coordinators to other jobs.
But that didn't matter in the first part of the season.
Right.
When they were running, they struggled early, but they were still finding ways to win. They did have a couple of fairly dominant wins in there.
Right. They were beating everybody. And then all of a sudden, it just all fell apart. And now, again, like with Mike McCarthy in Dallas, now we got to wonder about Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
They're talking about already
Super Bowl and now falling apart so badly, ending such a horrible run. Is he the guy?
And again, just like with the Cowboys, very similar. Can you run this back now after this type of collapse? I don't know if you can.
No, because that you have had to have lost the team at that point. Obviously, he lost the team going into this debacle.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, as a Buccaneers fan, I did not expect this in any way, shape, or form.
No, it looked like the Eagles rolled over.
Yes, absolutely looked like they rolled over. I did not expect them to just give up without a fight.
Yeah, I expected it to be a tight game, but a blowout? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, final score 32-9. And I know
Ugh,
Jalen Hurts had the problem with his finger, but
come on.
by all accounts, middle finger does not impact throwing the ball. And he popped it back in. He had 3 or 4 days for it to heal up. That's not an excuse. There's something. Now, I wonder about the A.J. Brown injury.
That I kind of questioned.
That really boggles my mind. This is the playoffs. Tyreek Hill got out there, no sleeves for the Dolphins.
Yeah,
He's
Tyreek
been
Hill
beat
is a
up
little
all year.
Tyreek Hill is a little badass.
He was beat up all year. He got out there and put up the best numbers he possibly could. A.J. Brown, I can't play.
No.
Maybe this is why the Titans,
Said bye-bye.
knew something. Everybody's railing on the Titans after they fired Mike Vrabel. Well, because they traded A.J. Brown and Mike Vrabel said he was going to be with A.J. Brown. Maybe they knew something.
Maybe they did.
Because why are the Eagles sitting him in a crucial first-round playoff game?
Must-have game. They needed him out there.
Absolutely.
Because when he and Smith are both going, that offense is near unstoppable.
Right.
But all they had to do was
Smith had a nice
Smith.
game, but they kept him contained to the point where there were no other options.
Yeah. They couldn't hit that deep ball that they normally could.
And then, of course, you let Baker Mayfield pick apart the Matt Patricia defense, which isn't all that hard, as you mentioned.
Yeah, Matt Patricia, how he is still coaching in this league is beyond me.
Well, I gotta believe if the Eagles do not fire Nick Sirianni, he is going to be asked to make wholesale changes.
You have to
in that staff. Could be both offense and defense, but definitely defense.
Absolutely. And then after the game, next day, Mr. Kelsey, long-running center.
Not officially yet.
But he's telling teammates that he's retiring.
And that will be a huge blow in terms of that locker room leadership.
Yeah.
If you lose him as a locker room leader, huge blow. But it's not official yet.
He hasn't signed the paperwork.
Right. But he told his teammates supposedly. But in terms of the media, he says, I'll make that decision when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
I would think he's probably
after
done.
this, how can you go back to that team?
Well, again, they've got to make wholesale changes. Maybe the changes they make
could lure him back. Maybe.
Right. Spur him to come back. And nobody knows how he feels about Sirianni.
Right.
All right, so that's it for last week's games. Now let's talk about the headlines. And, of course, the Bears were not in the playoffs. Sitting pretty, of course, with 2 top 10 picks in the draft, including the number 1 pick. Oh, but Dave, we got to book our tickets. We got to book our tickets for London.
Yeah, I ain't going to no damn overseas game.
The Bears are getting a quote-unquote home game.
Gee, thanks for nothing.
In London at Tottenham in 2024.
Whoop-de-friggin-do.
Of course, we talked about Bill Belichick out with the Patriots, Gerard Mayo in there. This is almost, again, I hate to make the comparison again, but so slow moving. Just like baseball free agency.
Yeah, there's nothing.
No movement right now. No movement right now at all when it comes to hiring. And there's so many openings.
That's the scary part is how is all of this going to get shuffled around?
Somebody's got to pull the trigger because somebody's got to start hiring their assistants.
Yeah.
Because
you got to get that going.
You got to start bringing in the assistants. The first guy hired is going to be the first one to get his pick of all the assistants that are out there. I'm shocked the Raiders haven't made a decision on Antonio Pierce.
Oh,
everybody acted like on that roster, on that team, they loved him.
They loved him. They responded
to him. Dragging their feet and dragging their feet.
Yeah, well, that's bowl cut for you.
Dude, he's just, he's at P.F. Chang's just having a good time. And then he goes to the Lemon Tree and gets his hair cut. That's his daily routine. Come on. Of course, coordinator news. The Browns fired, as you mentioned, their offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt. The Saints fired their offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael. The Commanders, very smartly, if I may say so, although I think the approach they're taking might be shying people like Bill Belichick away. They've got all these outside consultants coming in.
Yeah.
Now
they are being very deliberate.
Yes. So I like the GM hire because why not get the assistant GM from arguably the best run team in terms of personnel in the league? They bring in the San Francisco 49ers assistant GM, Adam Peters.
Yes, very good hire.
Serving under John Lynch. You can't really do worse than that.
No.
I hate to bring this up. Oh, God, I hate to bring this up, but...
You must.
For all the good, even though they just missed the playoffs, for all the good that happened for the Colts this year, news comes out here this week. Their dipshit owner, again, and because it's drug-related, I was not going to put it in the dumbasses of the week.
No.
Even though it could qualify.
It does qualify, but Jim Irsay has substance abuse issues. Admitted to opioid use in the past. Was it back in early December? Paramedics called to his home because he was turning blue and barely breathing. Reports are Narcan was administered to slightly revive him.
And now we're hearing, of course, the spin, the PR spin is...
Oh, he's having upper respiratory illness. Yeah. Isn't that convenient? As he's in rehab once again.
Yeah, this is a situation we've got to take seriously. He has got to sell the team.
You look at him.
And I'm not saying that because he's doing a bad job. The people he's got around him are running the team very, very well. Again, they just missed the playoffs. They lost their rookie quarterback early in the year. It's not football related. It's life related. He needs to step away, sell this team, because he needs to get right. He's a mess. He needs to get right.
Dude, he's only 64.
And he's embarrassed his team how many times?
He looks 15 to 20 years older than his 64.
He does.
He has lived a rough life.
And I am going to draw a parallel here. Of course, later we'll play America's Favorite Game Show. I just want to keep this in mind because I'm going to draw a connection between what we're talking about right now and what we'll talk about later in Brett Foreman's Dumbass or Not. These rich, arrogant owners who think they're not only smart businessmen, they can buy a football team and they can run a football team, but they're also rock stars. I just want you to keep that in mind. Jim Irsay, of course, thinks he's a rock star too.
Yes, because of the Jim Irsay band.
Yes.
He occasionally gets on stage and performs with them.
Kids, keep this in mind for later on when we draw a parallel.
Foreshadowing for you kids.
Yes. Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing. As Dave and I know, reading, I read 5-6 books a year. He reads 5,000. But we know what foreshadowing is. All right, Dave. I think it's time to move on. The kids want to know what our picks are for the divisional round in the NFL playoffs.
7 of our 8 panelists are in. Game 1, Saturday, January 20th. Texans at the Ravens.
Does the really impressive rookie hot streak for C.J. Stroud continue, Or do the Ravens put their foot down and say, not in our house? Now, I will say this. I am still not convinced the Ravens are the be-all, end-all.
No, they have their issues. They have holes.
And I will fully admit, based on the numbers, based on the performance, Lamar Jackson will win his second MVP. And I will say this also.
Let's see if he can back up his performance. Dak Prescott, one of the early MVP favorites in Dallas, shit the bed.
Brock Purdy for 3 games had a little 3-game run there with the 49ers where he shit the bed.
Slightly concussed during that run.
Right. But this is the thing. Lamar Jackson, I have problems with him. And I'm not saying he's not a great player. If you ask me, here's 2 questions that will tell you how I feel about Lamar Jackson. Number 1, would I want him as the quarterback of my team? If I could have any quarterback, no.
No.
If I had other choices, I would say no. And number 2, I'm assuming he wins his second MVP. Is he a Hall of Famer? No. Sorry, he's not. I don't think he's good enough. He hasn't done anything yet.
No.
Now, this is his year to prove me wrong, to prove doubters wrong. I don't think beating the Texans at home is going to prove that to me.
No,
it's probably going to be next week or after that.
Win a conference title.
But can C.J. Stroud pull another miracle out of his pocket as a rookie? Can DeMeco Ryans continue his hot streak as a rookie head coach for all the great things they've done?
The deeper you get in the playoffs, that's where your top head coaches are going to shine.
And you and I have always said John Harbaugh never gets the credit he deserves.
No, he does not.
Because he's only had the 1 title, but the Ravens year in and year out are always in the playoffs, are always a contender. They are always a hard out. They are never, they're like Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. They are always there year after year after year.
Yeah.
They're like a hemorrhoid. Consistent. You can't get rid of them. They're a pain in your ass. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
No, this is going to be a close game.
Yeah, the point spread right now is 9. That's about right. I could see this about a 10-point game. I think the Ravens win at home, but it does not prove to me that Lamar Jackson is elite. It does not prove to me that the Ravens are going to be the NFL champions. We have doubters, though. One doubter. Guess who it is?
The elder statesman.
Why, Dave?
Because he's trying to catch you for the picks win.
Because it's not enough that he's got to send out emails to the entire group whining and crying about, why doesn't Kevin have to show his picks to everybody? Like we do in baseball and NASCAR.
Because that's not how we set the NFL picks up.
Well, because number 1, in baseball and NASCAR, you have dozens of other options.
Right.
You literally have dozens of other options. If the leader picks driver X or team X in baseball or NASCAR,
you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
You're not just, I'm going to pick opposite. I'm going to pick opposite. I'm going to be picking opposite. That's a lazy, unskilled way to try to win things. And that's why we don't do it that way. And I told Dave I was really close to calling it quits with this crap. Not with the podcast, but with this competition bullshit. Because I'm tired of Aaron whining about NASCAR. I'm tired of Sam whining about NASCAR. I'm tired of Sam whining about the football picks. I'm going to put my foot down.
No.
I'm going to be the goddamn Donald Trump of Sports Frenzy. And I'm going to start telling everybody, you don't like it, you fucking leave. Because your way is the wrong way. Our way is the right way. We vote on this shit.
It works. It's not broken.
Anyway. Saturday night, Dave. What do we got?
Saturday night. The Packers go out to the Bay Area to take on the Niners.
Can I tell you something? As I'm crunching down on a very delicious rye crisp that Dave brought for our snacks tonight in the studio. Thank you very much, by the way.
You're welcome.
I regret not having the faith in Jordan Love that I should have had with fantasy football. If I had played him,
oh my God,
against the elder statesman in the semifinal or the third place game, you and Bill were fighting for the championship.
Yeah.
I was never going to beat you. I was never going to beat him. But I could have beat Sam for third. But I started Matthew Stafford, and I should have started Jordan Love. And I never, even though I grabbed him off the waiver wire about 2 months ago, I only played him once, maybe twice. That kid looks phenomenal. And it's not fair. It's not fair, Dave.
The Packers draft early. They get the heir apparent sitting, watching for a few years, taking it all in before they make the transition.
And you know what's really smart about the fucking Packers? And I can't believe I'm saying this as a Bears fan. They do that, and the front office says, shut your mouth, you deal with it.
Exactly.
They told Brett Favre when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, shut your mouth, you deal with it, or we're going to get rid of you. And they did.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers goes on a Hall of Fame career. They draft Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers bitches and pisses and mows.
Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you
shut me? Your mouth and deal with it. And guess what? He couldn't deal with it. They got rid of him.
Next man up, and they keep rolling right along.
They keep the coaches. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
They keep the coaches stable. Because they get the right coaches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which one did they let go that the Bears hired away as their offensive coordinator, who they just fired, Mr. Getsy? Getsy didn't get it.
But Mike McCarthy was there for over a decade. Matt LaFleur looks like he's going to be there for over a decade.
Stability.
You look at the Packers and how they're run and compare them to the Bears. And we get everything we fucking deserve. We get everything we fucking deserve. And Aaron Rodgers is much... Well, you know what? This was what I was going to confess to you last week. We didn't have time because we were playing catch-up. Oh, wait, I'll save it for the last segment. But you compare the two organizations. One is extremely well run. One is a dumpster fire.
Yep.
And that's why
the Bears have always been a dumpster fire.
That's why the Packers can go in and pull off a massive upset like they did against the Cowboys, and the Bears couldn't do that to save their life. They couldn't beat the Packers and keep them out of the playoffs in Week 18 like we all thought they were going to.
The Packers own the Bears.
Then they say we're going to keep Matt Eberflus because we saw progress on the defensive side of the ball.
You saw 3 epic meltdowns by that defense.
And they're scared to death to get rid of Kevin Warren because he's the heir apparent to Roger Goodell. I'm so tired of this namby-pamby, pussy-ass organization who's so scared to death
to move
on from incompetence like Ted Phillips. Finally, we're getting rid of Ted Phillips. Finally.
And
he should have been fired a decade ago.
And you bring in a guy who's just as milquetoast right now.
The Bears aren't going... I'm still waiting to hear if Caleb Williams will actually play for the Bears.
Yeah. We'll have to see on that one. God.
Anyway, I go off on a rant on the Packers. They're going into Santa Clara to play the 49ers. Guess what? Guess who's picking the Packers?
That would be the elder statesman. Again, trying to catch you.
Now, it worked for him last week. Because he did this last week, and he got the Packers over the Cowboys. I don't think it's happening this week.
No.
Sorry, I don't think it's happening this week. I don't care if the Packers are fully healthy and full strength. Ain't happening.
And Shanahan is a better coach than McCarthy.
Yeah. Sorry. 49ers, with a week off of rest, should be able to dominate this game. Moving on to Sunday, the 21st. My Buccaneers against Sam's Lions.
Going up into Detroit.
He couldn't do it. You notice he couldn't do it.
He couldn't go up.
And this could be the one game that could kill him, because if we both get this right, that could be it.
That could be over.
Mathematical elimination. I pick based on who I think's going to fucking win the game. I don't try to pull this opposite thinking stuff. The Lions looked very good against the Rams. As you said, the referees had something to say about keeping the game as close as they did.
Yeah.
I don't
Lions
have a lot of faith.
Can be a little shaky.
I admire the Buccaneers and what they've pulled off this year. That's the thing. To this point,
the Lions can get shaky, though. And it's still Detroit.
I love what the Buccaneers have. Todd Bowles has proven me to a point wrong. To get them to this point, I admire him. I admire Baker Mayfield. The heart of that team is solid. They are still carrying over that passion, that energy from the Tom Brady era. I just think the Lions are the better team.
They are the better team, but they're still the Lions.
I'm shocked with this. I'm shocked. I am shocked with you.
I don't have faith in the Lions. I think the Buccaneers are on a nice little run.
You picked them last week when I picked the Rams.
I did, but that was to get through the wild card.
The Rams were a better matchup in terms of who could beat the Lions than the Bucs. Sorry.
They are, but there is always that one upset that's going to happen.
Right.
This will be the upset.
All right, so Dave has got the Buccaneers. So does Bill and Doug. Lions for me, Sam, Nick, and Aaron. I believe Mrs. C will probably go with the Lions as well.
Probably.
Daddy's pick.
Daddy's team.
Now we move on to the big matchup where I'm going with your line of thinking.
You're going, this is the upset.
Yes, because I do agree with you that there is always going to be one upset. Now, people say...
But is this really...
Is it an upset?
No. I'm surprised this isn't even money on the points.
Now, here's the thing. People like to say that this is the best weekend of football. Now, I would have thought the matchups last weekend were better, and we got a miserably awful weekend of football. The games were pretty much garbage.
Pathetic.
I don't think these games are going to be much better. I really don't. I think the Ravens, favored by 9, cover that. It'll be close, but I think 9.5, San Francisco covers that. Now, you like the Bucs. I would take the Bucs in 6.5.
Yeah.
I would take the Bucs in 6.5, but I still take the Lions to win by a field goal. So that game could be close. And then, of course, this titanic battle between the Chiefs and the Bills. Here's my issue with the Bills.
Other than McDermott?
Yeah, I hate McDermott. Yeah, as much as I despise Andy Reid as a person, as a football coach, 10 times better than McDermott. 2 things. Number one, I know the Bills are at home. Number one, banged up on defense. Really banged up on defense. They took a lot of injuries in that last game against the Steelers.
They got a little banged up.
And number 2, Josh Allen is due for a couple turnovers. And I think if he turns the ball over twice, Chiefs win the game. I think he will. I think the Chiefs win. I like the way Pacheco ran against the Dolphins. He ran hard. He ran nasty. Rashee Rice has all of a sudden emerged as a top flight wide receiver, taking all the pressure off Mr. Swift. So he's like a second or third tier weapon now.
Yeah. No, Kelsey, for all intents and purposes, has been a non-factor this year.
when our buddy Jamie sent us a notification that he read that Jason Kelsey was retiring, I had to do a double take because I thought it was Travis. Because I thought, yeah, that makes sense because he's done because, the pussy is biting him.
Yeah, he's more worried about his image with Taylor Swift and all of that, and doing his commercials
are going right through his hands.
Yeah, he is not focused on football.
No, he's not. He is dropping passes.
He is the detriment.
3 drops in the first half.
Yeah.
In the last game.
He is the detriment to that team. He could be the reason why the Chiefs fold on this one.
All right, so I'm taking the Chiefs. So is Sam. So is Doug. You're taking the Bills as well as Bill.
Yep.
Nick and Aaron. And
Mrs. C will definitely
take
be
the
taking
Chiefs.
the
She's
Bills.
taking the Chiefs. She's taking the Chiefs.
That'll be a cold day in hell.
All right, kids, there you go. There are NFL picks. Next up, we are going to be talking about everything else. College football, baseball.
NBA, NHL.
Yep, so let's get into it.
All right, kids, and just as a reminder, we are recording January 17th, 2024, dropping the 18th Thursday as always. Where can you find us? Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
Of course, iHeartRadio. We hope you're liking the new nonstop format we're trying this week. No promo breaks.
Nope.
Going straight through beginning to end.
Running it. It keeps the flow going for us, uninterrupted for you. Don't forget to check out the polls, the Q&A that we have going.
On Spotify exclusively, unfortunately, but...
Yep, the rest of y'all can comment on Facebook. Everything is good.
Yep. So again, also let us know what you think of the new nonstop format. Because we're kind of liking it.
Yeah.
Now, the weekend edition coming up this Saturday morning, of course, your weekend hangover cure, we're probably going to keep the breaks in place. Because it's a little more organic for that. It's movies break, TV break, music break,
Yeah, it needs that little pause in between.
Right, but for sports, we can just keep going. You pause us whenever you want to pause us. On your phone, whatever device you're using. We'll leave it up to you for the sports stuff.
You know how this works.
Yes. Your favorite politically incorrect sports podcast, now nonstop. So we covered the NFL through 45 minutes. So now we got to move on to everything else. Now, baseball, still, we've alluded to this here when it comes to comparing it to right now the head coaching search. Dave has breaking news about that, by the way.
Yeah, sources say that the Cowboys are going to stick with Mike McCarthy for one more year.
Welcome to the Chicago Bears South.
Yep, exactly. Good Lord.
Dumb decision. Unless they move on from Dak Prescott. You got to make a change somewhere.
Yeah, something has got to switch up down there.
But baseball, just as slow and sluggish with the free agency. And, of course, we blame that on Scott Boras.
Yeah, with all of his clients holding out, trying to get teams to outbid themselves. The guy's a freaking menace.
And, of course, some idiot GM, some idiot owner will eventually, but it won't happen until February or even, dare I say, early March. You won't see Cody Bellinger or Josh Hader,
Nope.
Jordan Montgomery, any of these guys. These owners are going to hold out.
As they should, because everybody knows after all these years, Boras makes teams outbid themselves. He drums up all this nonsense about, this team, I've got offers for. No.
So, and I'm not trying to do anything racial here. Again, we're politically incorrect, but I am not. Do you notice how all the big-time players from Japan have already signed? and they're already set.
Yeah.
Whether it's with the Dodgers or the Cubs, it's all the American players, again, aligned for the most part with Scott Boras.
That are holding everything up.
Yep. Just making an observation, kids. And thank you to the New York Yankees for taking Marcus Stroman off the Cubs' hands. I mean, he was a free agent, so there you go. Anyway,
but they made that decision to not re-sign him easy.
Yep. So Marcus Stroman, who has badmouthed the Yankees organization in the past, now signs a 2-year, $37 million deal with said Yankees. Good luck, New York. Good luck. The Mets didn't want him a couple years ago.
Yeah, have fun with him.
And then, of course, he went to the Cubs. Luckily, he was at least a decent player with a team attitude.
He was a good teammate when he was there, and when he was healthy, you got a lot of good outings out of him.
But there's a question, though.
Can he stay healthy?
The health.
He at least
we got lucky.
At least
for 2 years,
Cubs,
we got lucky.
You had him, and he was consistent, and he didn't throw any tantrums.
Right. So thank God, we got, like you said, 2 years, 2 good years out of him. But you could just tell it's like a powder keg. That fuse is getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Just waiting
and the Cubs
for it.
got rid of it, cut that fuse off before it blew. Now, Dusty Baker, former Cubs manager, of course, former Astros manager, going back to the San Francisco Giants as a special assistant.
Yep, going to the front office.
Now, Dave and I talked about this off mic in our prep. What kind of pressure does this put on the current Giants manager? That he knows that they're going to pull Dusty down from the front office.
There's a legendary manager up there helping out with things. If I F this up, he can slide right in and try and right the ship.
Yeah. I don't like that setup at all.
Or if the manager's smart, he uses Dusty as a resource and picks his brain.
Well, right.
That's what should happen.
Yes.
That's the way it should work. There should be a team working on that. You should be learning from one of the better managers in the game.
Yes. And I'm still puzzled. Now, you've been to San Francisco. I have not. And I know a lot of accounts say it's a mess right now, but they cannot get anybody to come to that team. They can't get any free agents to come to that team.
No, because it's become a shithole.
But Pac Bell Park is beautiful.
It is.
But
the city has gone so downhill. Tax rates are up. Homeless are rampant. Crime is rampant. Businesses are leaving the city in droves. It's not a good situation.
Yeah. And plus, you got the tax situation, of course, in California.
Not just in San Francisco, but California.
Right now, there's investigations going on where they're getting mad about the whole Shohei Ohtani deal for different reasons that baseball purists like you and I are.
Yeah,
they're worried he's going to skip out on paying what they feel is his fair share
of income tax
because he's going to get most of that money after he's moved out.
Yep.
Of the area. But now I thought they had an exit tax, which I find unbelievably pathetic.
No idea.
I think California's got an exit tax where if
California sucks balls.
Well, yeah, of course they did. Now I told you, I found a website, and we discussed this last time, where the Hall of Fame voting, the ballots are out there. I just want to give you guys an update because I find this fascinating that you can get real-time updates on the public ballots that have been disclosed. We're down to 4 now, Dave. Remember we had 5 before?
Right.
We're down to 4 now, with 43.8% of the known ballots in. Gary Sheffield is now out. Gary Sheffield dropped below the 75%
Oh,
threshold.
come on.
So now it's just Maurer and Beltre. Oh my God, who are the other guys? Helton and Wagner.
How is Todd Helton in there to
I
begin
don't understand.
with?
What are we missing with Todd Helton? Honestly, what are we missing with Todd Helton?
He wasn't an outstanding player. He was a good player.
Right.
But he's not a Hall of Famer.
I don't get. And I had a problem with Scott Rowland getting in a couple years ago.
Yeah, that was bad.
And I put Scott Rowland in ahead of Todd Helton. All right, we'll see how this goes. They're
so jacked
but
up.
Unfortunately, now Adrian Beltre's getting in for sure. Because he's like 98% right now.
Yeah, he deserves to be in.
Yes. But again, I would put Gary Sheffield in ahead of everybody else outside of Beltre.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to college football, of course, the repercussions of Nick Saban's retirement, the ripple effects.
Bum, bum, bum.
The dominoes are falling. So the first domino to fall was Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of Washington, is now the Alabama head coach, which surprises me in that he doesn't really have any ties to Alabama.
No, there are none whatsoever. And building something that he had rolling in Washington to go down to Bama is very curious.
I agree. Now, of course, our minds, when we first heard about Saban retiring, grinding, thinking, we thought Steve Sarkisian, of course, from Texas, maybe he gets an extension.
He said, I'm building something, I'm staying.
Yep, so he got an extension through 2030. But now, who does Washington take? They go poach Arizona's head coach, Jed Fish.
Yep.
So now he will move on. He will take over the Washington job. And then, of course, Arizona poaches
from San Jose State.
Yes. So there's your dominoes, kids. Falling. But the initial domino puzzles me. I just don't know how Kalen DeBoer is going to fit in Alabama. I thought they'd go with somebody with at least some tie to Tuscaloosa.
Not necessarily a requirement. What did they struggle with this year? Offense. What does DeBoer bring? Frickin' offense.
There you go. And of course, Florida State, for all their whining and crying and bitching and pissing and moaning about not getting into the Final Four for the college football playoff, now they got bigger problems. They are being hit by the NCAA with penalties involving, shocking, NIL infractions.
Oh. Nobody's really surprised that there's an NIL infraction coming in. Come on.
No.
And with as wide open as they made it, how can you hold anybody accountable for an NIL infraction?
I know.
It's an absolute joke.
Yep. All right, moving on to the NBA. We've got a ton of NBA news again. My Magic are 22-18, fading a bit. Right now, they would qualify only for the play-in tourney because they've realized now that after the first month where they were playing all the dregs, that now you got to start playing the West Coast teams and the Celtics and the Bucks.
And
it gets
now
a little
it gets
harder.
A little tougher. Yep. I have to give my Clint Eastwood Badass of the Week award here in the NBA. Kings coach Mike Brown bringing in a laptop to the press conference to show the inconsistency of the officiating, bringing up play after play to show they called this no foul. Oh, look, it happened in this instance, the exact same thing where they called a foul. Brilliant use of technology. I love it.
And I'm with you, but you realize he got fined $50,000
for
that.
But it's worth it. But it's actual proof right there. irrefutable.
I would be like that if I was a coach too. I'd be like, find me. Go ahead, find me. Do whatever. If I have something to say, I got something to show you about how you fucked up, I'm going to show you. And you want to find me, find me.
Yep. That's why, going back to the NFL, all frickin' season, why has Eberflus not gone absolutely apeshit ballistic for all the cheap shots to the head that Fields took when sliding? Hit late every damn time he slid, and there was never a flag.
I don't know. I'm with you. I would have been my coaching style. This could be fun here for a minute. I think you and I would be about the same. But my coaching style would definitely be along the lines of my hero, Jimmy Johnson. I would be yelling, screaming with the perfect hair with what I got left.
Johnson and Vitka.
Yes. I would never, ever. Yeah, sweater vest would be an awesome look. The sweater vest.
Frickin' stick up for your players on the field.
Yeah. I would wear those officials down. Wear them down. I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, you guys are in charge. I'll accept whatever you say.
I would be going frickin' bonkers.
Yeah. Because we talked about this in the past. In the NFL, it's the one league where you don't really get penalized.
Yeah, you can call them out.
But again, we see in the NBA where it's different. You do get penalized in the NBA. You get technical fouls, you get thrown out of games, you get fined.
But you know what? There needs to be accountability on the officials. If they're horrible, you need to be able to point it out.
Yeah, we've always said that. We've always said that.
And it's not. There's impunity.
It gets worse. It gets worse. We talked about the officiating this year in the NFL specifically is
the
awful.
Worst it's ever been.
Yes, because there is no account. We'll make them full time. Oh, bullshit.
No,
That's
you don't
not
have to make them full
anything.
time.
That's not going to fix anything. That's going to give them more power.
Yeah, hold them frickin' accountable.
What, next you're going to let them form a union? Then good luck getting anything done.
Forget it.
All right, so I was going to start a new segment last week. So let me ask you how you feel about this one. Some of these things, again, we tried as much as we could last week to cram all this stuff in. So we're going to have a little bit of carryover. But now we all know the issues last season with Ja Morant, with the Grizzlies, right?
Yeah.
The gun stuff and the videos, posting the videos with the guns and, getting fights with teenagers and all that crap who supposedly they say were invited onto his property to play. And he said, no, they weren't. Punched him in the face. And of course, disgusted the hell out of me. He gets his 25-game suspension.
Comes back, getting ready to play, and oh, my arm.
Well, no. But when he came back, and all of a sudden the Grizzlies started to play well, the returning hero! Oh, Ja Morant! No. This is why I was going to start my new segment. Karma's a bitch. I'm thinking this is a new segment. Karma, just like we fucking told you so.
Karma's
so now I want to start. Karma's a bitch. Ja Morant tore his labrum, and he is now done for the season. So I would just like to say, karma's a bitch.
Oh.
Now, on the flip side, somebody who did it the right way, somebody who deserves, and this is another thing I want to discuss with you. Now, I don't like the whole super team thing. You know this. I never liked
the super teams are
the LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade thing in Miami. But before that, Dwayne Wade was the man, and he got that team a title along with Spoelstra.
Yeah.
Was that Spoelstra or Riley back then? Might have been
Riley.
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 Okay. But Dwayne Wade gets all the props, gets all the credit for that. That was their first title. So he is getting a bronze statue in front of the Miami Heat arena. Now, to have a little fun here, let me ask you this. What would you rather have? Would you rather have your number retired, if you could only have one or the other, your number retired on the rafters in a flag or, on the Ring of Honor, whatever it might be, your number retired, your name forever engraved in the stadium where the team plays, or a bronze statue out front? What would you rather have?
I would rather have my number retired because I don't want to be shit on or anybody damaging the statue.
I thought about all that. I did, and I'd still take the statue. I'd still want the statue. It's pretty cool. But you're right. I thought about that. I thought about the fact that birds are going to shit on the statue. People would throw crap at it. Who knows what they're going to do? Piss on it. What they're going to do to it. But I still think having a statue is cool. But I get where you're going.
Again, at some point, how many damn statues are going to be around all these places?
Well, how many numbers are there to retire?
That too.
That's the thing. How many numbers are there to retire?
If you
especially
go
with the Yankees.
My God.
How many numbers have they retired?
You stop retiring and start putting up statues.
I don't think they want to do either one. I think they'll find another way to do things. Don't the Yankees have that tombstone graveyard or whatever? Whatever it is back there. Oh, Monument Park. Sorry.
Monument Park, yeah.
Every time I think of it, I think of they're all tombstones back there of all the old Yankee players.
Well, you think monuments, that's typically where you go.
Oh, my God. The NBA's draft is going to expand to 2 nights. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Nobody's going to watch it.
The funny thing is, and we've talked about TV ratings for years and years here, and we get conflicting numbers when it comes to the NBA, right? Because we hear some people say the numbers are abysmal, and of course this year's been awful for them because they've had to go head-to-head with the NFL on Martin Luther King Day and Christmas Day, so they're getting destroyed this year. But I am hearing that their numbers are abysmal, yet we keep... on other fronts.
So great. Oh my God, more people are watching than ever. Right.
But they're going to go to 2 nights with the draft. Does anybody really care about the second round of the NBA draft? No. The NFL draft, 3rd, 4th rounds are interesting. You rarely get great players in the NBA in the second round. Rarely.
No, that's bench filling time.
Yeah. They better have strippers performing between every pick.
It's the NBA. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Make it rain, baby. Make it rain. Then finally, of course, this past week, Dave loves this international expansion stuff. The Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers played in Paris.
Whoop-de-frickin-do.
In the college game. UConn is number 1 for the first time, I believe, in 15 years in the AP poll. But does that really matter considering they've won 3 titles since then?
I know. Again, you're coming off winning a title and you can't even be given the preseason number 1 coming in.
Well, they are number 1 now.
They are now.
But they're on the upside. Gonzaga, for the first time since 2016, is out of the AP Top 25. 143-week run, done. And not even close to the best all time.
No.
Lots of Duke, North Carolina, Kansas runs in there.
UCLA.
Yep. Do we want to talk about your Blackhawks?
No point, really, other than Bedard is skating as he's recovering from his broken jaw.
Hey, they played San Jose the other night, I saw. They got an easy win there.
Yeah.
So they are 13-29-2 with 28 overall points. Again, still ahead of San Jose.
Still ahead of San Jose.
Can I give you my badass of the week?
Sure.
All right. This is going to kind of be a roundabout way to get to my badass, but I know the Bengals did not make the playoffs. Okay? I know they finished 9-8, but I admire the fact that, number one, Zach Taylor proves to be a great head coach, keeping that team afloat until the last couple weeks, keeping that team alive despite the Joe Burrow injury, and getting Jake Browning in there and proving that he is a viable quarterback. I don't know if somebody will take a chance on him as a starter. But holy shit, did you see his girlfriend? Oh my God! Oh my fucking God! Oh my God! Did you see the white bodysuit? Did you see that the last weekend of the season? Oh my God!
You gotta be a football hero to get the beautiful girls.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Little Kev was having a field day. I had to put a bag of ice on my crotch. Oh my God, that was such an unbelievable sexy woman. Her name is Stephanie Niles, by the way. And this is going to be a recurring theme throughout not only this episode, but into the weekend edition.
Oh, God help us.
Yes, Kev is going to talk a lot about beautiful women because I'm telling you, it's that kind of week.
Oh,
so we start off here.
Girls.
Yes, my man with the Van Halen reference. Jake Browning, my Clint Eastwood badass of the week. Because even as a backup quarterback in the NFL, holy fucking shit.
You get the hottie.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Good for you. Good Lord. Why did we not play football? Seriously.
Why didn't my mommy and daddy force me to play football so I could be a backup quarterback in the NFL?
Oh, man. Well, as NFL starts winding down, the boys of NASCAR are starting to rev up and get ready for the Clash at the Coliseum, year 3. Oh, boy. New rule changes coming for the Clash. And I knew you were going to assign me homework, so I went ahead and have it all lined up for you already.
I had it on my notes, kids. Homework for Dave, and he beat me to the punch. Brilliant man that he is.
So, practice and qualifying are going to be combined. So they're going to break everybody up into 3 groups. Each will have 3 sessions. The fastest lap from the 3rd session will be your qualifying lap. And that will determine the heat races. There's going to be 4 25-lap heat races run on Saturday, while the Clash is run on Sunday along with the last chance race. So, out of the heat races, the top 5 advance to the Clash. So the heat races will be set up based on qualifying. So heat 1, 5, 9, 13, 17 from qualifying. 2, 2, 6, 10, 14, 18, and on. You get the picture. So, come around Sunday, 75-lap last chance race. The top 3 will advance. Last year, they had 27 in the Clash. This year, only 23. So you got the 20 advancing out of the heats and 3 jumping up from the last chance. And the Clash itself will be 150 laps. Green flag only, must finish under green. There you go.
Seems like it's a lot better streamlined than in the past.
Yeah, so instead of trying to get all done in one day, they're breaking it up into 2 days, trying to bolster TV ratings probably over the course, but it'll flow better.
Yeah, and we're still waiting for final word on how this new TV deal will work out. Unfortunately, again, because Dave loves streaming.
Duh.
That the middle races, they're going to eat into Fox and NBC's package, and give either Amazon or some other streaming service.
Don't eat into Fox's time. Take it away from NBC.
I don't understand why Fox doesn't get. Don't they just look at the broadcast and see who does a better job? I don't understand why that's so hard. Why is it so hard?
It's not difficult.
Oh my God. All right, but
and Steve Letarte needs to be done.
He's the Tony Romo of NASCAR, is what he is.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, people are starting to notice, like we have.
We fucking told you so.
Lot of pushback on Tony Romo's quote-unquote performance during the Bills game on Monday.
How about all damn season?
He's a mumbling, bumbling idiot, is what he is. He can't put two coherent sentences together. He can't.
He can't stick with something he said. He rambles on something stupid and then, of course, then if this happens and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
No, you're a moron. Make a statement and stand by it.
Going back to NASCAR. We could spend all day on Tony Romo. Kaz Gralla is now officially in the Rick Ware Racing Camp for 25 Cup races in 2024, as we're still looking at these teams stabilizing their camps, getting their sponsors lined up.
Yep, trying to get the season ready to roll.
Yep, Rick Ware is trying to make a more of an impact this year. So, Kaz Gralla, 25 races, so not quite full-time, but
still a nice step in.
Yep, and then terrible news, in my humble opinion, for us racing fans. 1 year after they made a big deal about trumpeting, Thursday Night Thunder is back. Thursday Night Thunder is back on ESPN with SRX Racing. What happened, Dave?
They can't get a deal done for 2024.
I think this is on Ray Evernham and Tony Stewart, the two co-owners of SRX. Right. Evernham just recently acquired, with Rob Kaufman, the IROC brand.
Right.
So he wants to relaunch IROC. Tony Stewart is running drag racing
full-time as his wife prepares as they begin to start their family.
Little Smoke.
Little Smoke.
Little Smoke.
Little Smoke. Big Smoke's going to be running the top fueler in place of his wife.
I wish they hadn't teased us with this.
I know.
I wish we could have had a little bit more of a forewarning. But it looked like with the new deal with ESPN, everything was running well with SRX, and they were still getting the top guys, and we talked about it last year. They were fixing the schedule. They were fixing the schedule to run races nearby where the NASCAR Cup guys were going to run.
Could be able to come in, one or two of them could make an appearance.
And now it's all gone. Now it's all gone. So what now? ESPN is going to air what? Rugby from Finland on Thursday nights?
Gee, if you wanted to keep Thursday Night Thunder, how about you go back to televising some of the short tracks with the sprint cars? Let's get that back on TV.
Speaking of ESPN, speaking of the worldwide leader, now we already talked about the fact there's some shady behind-the-scenes dealings going on with the NFL, which will not work out well for us as consumers.
No.
It will not. Because this is the next step after the Peacock game, the Peacock wildcard game this past weekend. This is the next step towards having to pay to watch the NFL, where ESPN is getting an equity share, possibly, in ESPN, and ESPN will take over, if this happens, control of the Red Zone channel and the NFL Network.
ESPN Plus.
So again, tell me how this works out better for you and I.
It doesn't.
But fraudulent. Emmy nominations and victories from ESPN have been exposed over the past week.
This was the biggest dumbass of the week moment.
I know, again, because it's a lot more detailed.
Yeah, it needs...
It's not a real simple, you're a dumbass.
No, this requires delving in a little deep with discussion.
Because this involves, for the most part, College Game Day, where they were submitting fake names for 30 years, is my understanding.
Yeah, because College Game Day was not eligible to win an Emmy.
You couldn't double dip, is what it was. There were two different categories, and they were trying to get into both. But they couldn't, so they came up with fake names so they could. So they could double dip and get multiple Emmys that they were technically not eligible for. So they had to
Dirty, rotten bastards.
They have had to return dozens of quote-unquote re-engraved trophies.
Oh my God.
And the names involved are very interesting. Now, supposedly they didn't have any knowledge, but Kirk Herbstreit, Lee Carso, and Desmond Howard are among the ones that got Emmys that they did not deserve or earn.
No, they were using fake last names.
But again, it was the company, not them.
Right, it was somebody within the company doing this.
Right. And we're supposed to trust, and so the NFL's just going to jump right back into the dirty water with these ass jackholes?
Yeah.
Come on.
Seriously. Wrong on every level.
I'm waiting for the competitor, the big-time competitor, to show up. Somebody needs to build, whether it's Barstool Sports, whoever it is, we need another, like an independent in politics. We all hate the Republicans. We all hate the Democrats. Give us a strong third party. Give us a new sports network.
Give us a legitimate option.
Sports Frenzy Network. We're taking applications now for money.
SFN.
$100 million to get in.
SFN.
Come on. Bill Gates. Jeff Bezos, you got the money. Come on. Come on. 100 mil to get in. That's all it takes. 100 mil to get in.
We got this.
Speaking again of the business of sports, you guys know I railed on Bally Sports, Diamond Sports, and the whole regional sports network
debacle.
Well, now guess who has dipped their toes into this? Because we know that Diamond Sports filed for bankruptcy. Certain company known as Amazon has bailed them out.
Oh, Lord.
So now we will see
streaming baseball
on Amazon, most likely coming in the near future. Your favorite team for a mere $25, $30 a month. You can watch it through Amazon Prime. That's my prediction. That's just my prediction. Then finally, before we move on to moments of silence, good news. I think it's good news. I think it's great news. Especially after last week. Dave did such extensive, beautiful research on, of course, the liars, the frauds, Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods. Well, the Dubai tournament happened last weekend, and Rory McIlroy choked twice on the back nine on the final round. Once hitting it in the water on another hole, 3 putting from 2 feet away, letting Tommy Fleetwood win. So, Rory, you take your dirty fucking money and you walk away knowing, number one, you're not a winner. And
just
number two,
walk away.
Number two, you're a hypocritical piece of shit.
And you just had somebody drink your milkshake, bitch.
Great. One of the best movies ever, by the way. Featuring one of the best performances ever from Daniel Day-Lewis. I will drink your milkshake. I will drink it all up. God, I love that. Love that movie.
I know, it's so good.
he's so good in that. That would be There Will Be Blood.
Yes.
All right, moments of silence. We're going to start off with the Conquistador. Very, very somber moments here for NASCAR.
Yep. Longtime crew chief out of a family involved in NASCAR. Ryan Pemberton passed away at, was it 54? His brother Robin was a longtime crew chief, and now with the tech side of NASCAR, a lot of the Pemberton brothers have passed young. So thoughts and prayers go out to all their family and friends.
Yeah, of course, Ryan.
Junior Motorsports.
Yeah, JR Motorsports, just big figure in JR Motorsports. So, again, thoughts and prayers to the Pemberton family, the Earnhardt family. And then today, tragic news out of the NBA. Golden State Warriors assistant coach Dejan Milijevic. I know I'm probably not getting that name right. I'm doing the best I can. 46 years old. There were stories coming out about the Warriors canceling their games. And you wonder what was going on. And then we find out about this tragic heart attack during a meal.
Yeah, during a private team dinner, had an emergency rush to the hospital where he was pronounced dead of a massive heart attack.
This is the kind of stuff that really, it should make us all think. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but I'm telling you, it should make us all think about what we're doing every minute, every second, every day, what we're wasting time on, what we should be spending our time on. Because you would think an NBA assistant coach would be healthy. We don't know about genetics. We don't know about issues that may have been passed down through heredity, but still, 46 years old. It can happen.
Yep.
Hell, you can get in a car and some idiot could T-bone you and kill you.
You
Live
just
your
never
life.
know.
Live your life. And of course, the following two gentlemen here in moments of silence lived full lives, but again, you just never know when it's going to happen. Bud Harrelson, longtime shortstop for the New York Mets. And then, well-traveled, four-time Pro Bowl quarterback.
Norm Snead, 16 years in the NFL, 5 teams. Thoughts and prayers to his family and friends.
I believe now, I know the divisions weren't configured back then the way they are now, but I believe technically he played for what is now the NFC East, 3 of the 4 teams.
Yeah, Eagles, Commanders, Giants, Vikings, and Niners.
Yep. All right, Dave, are we ready?
Let's pivot.
Oh, wait. Can I do one more thing?
Sure.
I didn't think this qualified as a dumbass, even though somebody's a dumbass here. So I'm not going to count it.
This ancillary.
Yeah.
Lead in.
Because women's basketball. All right, going back a couple weeks. I don't know. This is like when Alabama plays a cupcake. Right?
Right.
And we make fun of it and we give it, But in women's basketball, Grambling in a couple weeks back beat, number one, they played.
What are you doing playing the College of Biblical Studies? How does the College of Biblical Studies pull together a basketball team?
A Division I record margin of victory or loss.
141 points.
159-18 final score.
Unbelievable.
So I didn't know if that was a dumbass.
But
it's just, why are we scheduling these type of games? That's embarrassing on all accounts.
Yeah, it's just,
I don't know. If you're a Grambling player, do you walk away from that?
Do you feel good?
Yeah, do you really feel proud of yourself? beating up on the College of Biblical Studies. All right, that's like your dumbass aperitif.
There you go.
Now it is time for America's favorite game show, Dave.
Red Foreman's dumbass or not. Not.
Now, of course, let's start off with the easy one. Give us a couple minutes to get into it. But two of our favorite dumbasses, who, of course, already have seats set on the Sports Frenzy plane of doom, but we didn't get to talk about them last week. Again, we were playing catch-up because of the technical difficulties. It's passé. It's a couple weeks stale, but still
relevant.
Fertile ground for us. The Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Kimmel feud.
God.
Which thankfully looks like it's finally cooled
done.
down.
Oh, Lord.
Now, this is what I was going to confess to you last week. We never got a chance to. I made a big deal. Yes, I'm sorry. Made a big deal. I was going to tell you this big confession. Never got to because we ran out of time. I actually sides with Aaron Rodgers on this. You know why? Because if you listen to his discussion of the whole deal on the Pat McAfee show, now he was wrong.
The first week, he was a complete dumbass, alluding to the fact that Kimmel was a pedophile.
He should never have done that. That was completely dumbass on his part. But if you listen to the interview and all the other stuff he brought up about things we've talked about, and he's actually on our side with this, where the media will insult you and just yell at you and insult you to drive you down and not let you talk. He was right about that.
Oh, absolutely.
And in that respect, he is 10 times better than Jimmy Kimmel, because Jimmy Kimmel is part of the problem.
Jimmy Kimmel forgot where he came from.
Jimmy Kimmel is not part of the problem. He's not part of the problem. He's part of the problem.
He's not part of the solution.
Yes.
He's a major problem.
See, this is the problem. I get confused because I'm dealing with two dumbasses here.
Yeah.
They're both idiots. Yes. But I just want to put it out there that God help me, I actually sided a little bit with Aaron Rodgers in this whole feud. Because Kimmel, as Aaron Rodgers again pointed out, really smart guy.
Yeah, he has to have his writers come up with his stuff for him.
Yeah. At least Aaron Rodgers comes up with his idiotic theories and conspiracy schemes on his own, as opposed to Kimmel with his dozens of writers.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get on to the good stuff.
Yeah, I still want them in a cage match.
Yes! I was thinking about that too. Wouldn't it be great if we could take all of the dumbasses we have picked over the years?
I want to bring back real-life celebrity deathmatch.
Thunderdome.
MTV Celebrity Deathmatch in real life.
Because think about this, dude. We can only put so many people on the plane of doom.
Right.
2 men enter, 1 man leave. We get rid of half the dumbasses right off the bat. Half of them are gone. Right?
It's a win-win.
Right?
It's a win-win.
We can only put a couple hundred people on the plane of doom, but we just put them all in Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. Or Whoopi Goldberg. And we get rid of half of them. Right off the bat, half of them are gone.
Boom. Confetti.
Sorry, kids. That was just fun. All right. Mike Francesa, long time New York sports talk legend.
In his own mind.
Yes. He's absolutely awful. Absolutely awful.
He is.
But somehow he keeps coming back like a bad fungus, like chlamydia. He keeps coming back.
He's like Murph used to be in Chicago on The Score. So full of himself, it's beyond belief.
But Francesa doesn't understand what an idiot he is half the time. And the latest example is talking about Mike Tomlin and his future with the Steelers and what he's going to do in coaching. Mike Francesa says, well, Mike Tomlin might want to step away. Because a lot of coaches do that. He might want to decompose for a year. So what is he now? God. Is he an extra in the Thriller video? What is he? He literally...
He's going to do a stint on one of the Walking Dead spinoffs.
Decompress, Francesa, not decompose.
Like your brain is doing.
And this guy's a legend. I'm sorry.
He is not a legend. He has always been awful. I've never heard anything intelligent come out of his mouth.
He was like the betting guy back on the NFL Today or something like that.
Just an idiot.
All right, I don't have her name. Our next potential dumbass, female reporter, asking Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles if he's concerned about the weather in Detroit for the game.
Hello.
Todd Bowles had to explain to her, it's inside.
That's a dome.
Yeah, the Lions have been playing in a dome for decades, whether it was Ford Field or the Silver Dome. So, see, these are pretty easy this week. Now we get a little more serious. Unfortunately, this guy's been a dirtbag forever. Knicks chairman James Dolan has now been accused.
God, this guy's a piece of garbage.
Of sexual assault and sex trafficking, of course, involving Harvey Weinstein.
Of course.
Here's my question. Number one, shame on the fucking Eagles. Having this guy's band, my connection to Irsay, James Dolan, JD, and the Straight Shot opened for the Eagles back in 2013. Now, Glenn Fry had a particular massage person that he used, and he supposedly said, if you want to take more money, make more money from other people on the crew or from this shitty opening band, you can. And of course, that meant James Dolan got to sexually molest her.
Douchebag.
And then, of course, he arranged for her to get sexually molested by Harvey Weinstein.
Because he's a piece of garbage.
All I'm going to tell you is look up pictures of James Dolan. He looks like a fucking pervert. He looks like the guy that you would walk on the other side of the street to get away from.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's got all this money and he's running sports teams.
It's disgusting.
And he's fucking opening for the Eagles boggles my mind. Yet he is a pervo and a dumbass. And then finally, this is a carryover from last week. I don't know what bowl season is. It's like a website that somehow got affiliations with all of the ESPNs and all the people who are connected into all the bowl games, the networks, the sponsors. So this bowl season website, the executive director of this is a guy named Nick Carparelli.
Oh, that doesn't sound sketchy at all.
Well, he's got a genius idea, Dave, because we know we've had all these problems with the NIL. You know, we talked about Florida State and how they're getting hit with penalties, and we got the transfer portal and these kids
and everybody opting out of bowl games.
Right. So this genius, Nick Carparelli, who runs this website, somehow connected to all these big-time, big money sponsors and networks. He says, well, you know how you can fix this whole problem with all these players opting out of the bowl games? Start giving them a piece of the advertising money.
Oh, God.
Compensate the players for promoting the bowls, and then they won't opt out. So again, let's give them more fucking money.
No. Dumbass, dumbass, dumbass.
I am so tired of this. You get a scholarship to get an education that most people outside of athletics would kill for. And you take it for granted and you say, no, I want more, 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 more. You're the problem with this fucking country. And I seriously hope college athletics collapses in like a fucking black hole. Because I'm sick of the transfer portal.
It's on its way. We can only hope it happens sooner rather than later.
And I'm telling you, going back to our team, the Bears, and Caleb Williams, and if we take him or if we don't take him.
And if he pulls an Eli Manning.
Yes.
Or a John Elway.
Yes.
Fuck him.
Perfect example of the problem with all of this. All right, weekend edition. This Saturday morning, your hangover cure. Each and every Saturday morning.
Music, movies, TV, books, we got you covered.
I have a lot in terms of movies to talk about when it comes to beautiful women and their bodies.
There you go,
That's your
kids.
teaser for the week.
Check out the Facebook post. See our picks and all that good stuff. Spotify, check out the polls and questions. We'll catch you next week, kids. He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
He's a conquistador, Dave Height. We love you. We'll check you out in 7 days for sports, in just a couple more days for your Saturday morning hangover cure. Say goodbye to the kids, Dave.
Goodbye to the kids, Dave.